Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla. And today I have a very special guest for you. We have two co-owners. I believe this is the first time in our history of the show. So they're popping my cherry today. And we have today Todd Sheridan and we have Nichelle Roane, both co-owners of Treehouse Juicery. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for
Welcome.
having us.
Of course, the pleasure is all mine. It's an honor. Before we go into both of your personal journeys, if you can just give the audience a brief general overview of who is Treehouse Juicery, please.
Well, Treehouse Juicery is a local cold pressed juice manufacturer. We're based in Baltimore, Maryland. We've been in business since 2016. We make all natural, no additive, cold pressed juices. It is very delicious. They're for people on the go who want to detox while having something healthy and delicious to drink. And it's been a wild journey.
That's awesome. So 2000, so going on to now 6 years almost, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been a you've had a lot of interesting things you've come across. I can't wait to get into all that and what you've experienced thus far in your 6 years. But before that, are you guys originally from here, the Baltimore, Maryland area?
Yeah,
Yeah. Born and raised.
Both. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Uh, so in the city, outside of the city,
In the city. We
in
actually
this,
both went to the same high school, Baltimore City College, but we didn't know each other at the time.
Never even saw her walk the halls. We met like almost 5 years later after high school. And was like, "You went to city? I went to city." Weird, right?
wow, I'm sure it was a pretty big school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were you guys into in growing up in the city?
I played a lot of football. Also played piano, and I mean, I was a bit of a nerd. I did my homework. you know,
That's
I,
good.
I yeah, I stayed out the way. I just love I just love to be around like my family. I'm the youngest of seven siblings, so I
Oh
was
wow, big
yeah,
family.
yeah, I grew up in a very huge household, a lot of personalities. So it's just been a good experience, good family life. And how about you?
Um, I did a lot of sports, basketball camp, softball camp. I was always like a Tom girl, so I like hanging outside and riding bikes with the guys. In high school, I did softball there for a little while too. So stuff like that, sports and adventure.
That's good. You play basketball. Are you pretty tall, Nichelle, or
I'm pretty tall for a girl. I'm about like 5'9".
oh, you're exactly the height of my wife. My wife's
Yeah,
exactly
a little
five
tall.
nine, which is pretty tall for a lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's good. Tom, so you were the youngest out of seven, so you probably learned a lot from your older siblings as far as what not to do, right? Or what to do.
Exactly what not to do. My siblings they dibbled and dabbled in everything. So I just like was the observer of everything. I knew everything. I just watched everything, and I decided to forge my own path. My father taught me how to play piano at like 4, so I've been playing by ear all my life, and I just took that skill and traversed different paths as far as music, playing piano, making my own instrumentals. Then I got into football like all my other siblings did. And I went to college. I studied everything under the sun. I actually graduated with a communications degree, which I never expected. And I couldn't find a job in communication. So we created our own job. The juice bar came about.
Oh, okay. So is did you also go to college, Nichelle?
Yeah, I went to CCBC, which really ended up helping our business. Like we won our first grant with them. We won $20,000 during their business innovation program. So it was like, oh wow, who would have known in my community college would have been like such a big help to our business in the long run.
So it was during college that you founded the business, or was it after?
Mm-mm.
No, it was actually a couple years later. We both worked at a warehouse driving forklifts.
Can you believe she was driving a forklift? It was weird.
Yeah.
So just to give a little backstory, in college I was I think it was like was it my last year, I believe so. And I was college really stresses you out. 1 second. Or never mind. Well, college stressed me out. I gained a lot of weight. I was obese, hypertension, gastric ulcers. I was only 21 years old. And I was like, man, I can't graduate feeling like this. So I went cold turkey vegan. I just had a plant-based lifestyle that I lived, and I started juicing every day. And I lost 100 pounds in the first 10 months. And ever since then, like 3 years later, I met Nichelle at the warehouse that we worked at. She was inspired by my journey and was like, you should really think about starting a juice bar. You're living the life already. So why not monetize your lifestyle? And so she helped perfect the juice blends, and friends and family and coworkers, they loved it. And, we just started making money off of it. We just didn't even think this was how we would, create a business, but it happened so effortlessly. So we decided it was the path to go on.
That's great, Todd, about the journey as far as you losing, you said 100 pounds in 10 months.
Yeah.
Now, was this just, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said, and no exercise. So it's just feeding your body the right nutrients in order to like cleanse and detox yourself. And all it took was the right mindset, and the weight just kind of fell off me.
Yeah, and I'm sure getting used to that. Were you just juicing the whole time, or would you eat any solid foods, or was it just straight juice?
It was I did a lot of juice. I drank more than I ate. A lot of times when people think they're hungry, they're really just thirsty or dehydrated. So I just drank a lot of my nutrients. And, once I met Nichelle, we started doing like yoga together and like just being mindful in life in general, with like a lot of breathing exercises. And it changed my life. It changed the way I thought. It changed the people I hung around. It changed the environment I was in. And like life became better once I met her. And then once the juicing came about in the business, it was like, it just skyrocketed. So
that's good. When I'm a firm believer, if you have the right partner, spouse, it's a game changer. And obviously, for you here, you can clearly see if it wasn't for Nichelle, who knows where you'd be, man.
I don't know. I don't know.
I know. I'm kidding though.
But no, it's in all seriousness though. It's been she's been a great influence. So
it has me thinking. There's this movie, and maybe you know the name. It's about, I think it's a British fella. I can't remember. And he goes around, and all he does is juicing. And I think there was a part 2 of it. Have you ever seen it? Does that ring a bell? Okay. My brother mentioned it to me, and I saw the preview, and it seemed very interesting. Just like you said, it's about getting all the nutrients through juicing. He would do veggies, fruits, everything, and he would lose a lot of weight. And his whole, he would just be juicing, and I don't think he ate any solids. But the weight would just fall off, and people were doing it.
Yeah, it's a real phenomenon. Your body, when you drink your nutrients, you give your digestive system a break. So, they say a good portion of your immune system is found in your digestive tract. So when you're always consuming food, your body's always, operating. It doesn't have a chance to really heal itself from the inside. It's always at work. So you give your body a chance to kind of revitalize and repair the damaged cells, things like that. And I've read stories where people have cured themselves from different ailments just from fasting and drinking and stuff like that. So, but we don't make any claims that we'll heal anybody. We're not doctors and nothing like that. It's, not trying to get in a lawsuit, nothing. But in my personal opinion, I found that it has made my journey to wellness easier.
Yeah. So when Nichelle gave you that bright idea at the warehouse about making a business out of this, how long from that idea to actually when you started taking some action and implementing and doing moves there? Or was it immediate, or you guys started thinking about more, or what?
It was immediate.
Okay.
Yeah. Like as soon as she mentioned it, we were like, what are we going to name it? What are we going to name it? And so she came over my home, and my niece was there. She was only 8 years old. And we were like trying to run different ideas past her, because children have the brightest minds. We're like, why not ask her out? So I asked my niece, and we were like, what should we name the company? Should we call it Juice Hut, Juice House? And she was just like, Treehouse Juicery. And we both was like, what? It was like that's the one. And then we've been running strong ever since.
Yeah, we didn't make our LLC for it till about a year later, because we met in like 2015. and we didn't make the LLC till 2016. So we kind of played around with some flavors and things like that, and then actually created the LLC.
So what was the process then? So you have the business idea. Then do you, obviously you were juicing already yourself, Todd. So do you start handing them out to people, to friends and family, or what happened next?
Yeah. Yeah. So once we got the name of the business, we like purchased like a bulk order of like bottles and caps, and we like just made the juice. We also went to like different it was Adobe Illustrator, made a logo, our own logo, made our own labels, and we just like give them to friends and family, let them test them, took them to work. Hey, let my coworkers try some, and everyone was like, "Hey, can I buy it?" It was like, "Sure, why
Okay.
not?"
Did you already have the price in mind? We're gonna charge X dollars, or
We had no price in mind.
We were just sampling little small bottles at first to like sneak to work. We weren't working at the warehouse anymore. I had actually started working at PayPal Credit, and he was at an insurance company.
Law firm.
So law firm first, yeah. And we would just take sample bottles, see what they thought, so we could, play around with the flavors. And then from there, people's like, oh, we want to purchase this. So then it's like, okay, so how big should the bottles be? How much should we charge? And of course, all of that stuff had to be based off of how much the produce cost and how much it costs to make. So that's when we kind of had to start getting into the nitty gritty of the foundation of business and not just an idea or concept.
and then you were still creating them from home?
Yeah, originally, yeah. We were like just playing around in our kitchen. We bought a juicer and we was just like having fun with it.
So then how did the growth come about, as far as then you have your bottling already done, and then you know what you're going to charge, and then from there sort of snowballs, or what happens after?
We actually started still sampling, but we took it to places like Yoga Works and different yoga studios and fitness centers to see how people outside of our like family and friends, because they're a little biased because they're your family and friends. So it's like, all right, it's time to see what people that are actually in this health industry want. What do they like? What kind of flavors do they need? And we sampled and they liked them as well. So that's when we were like, okay, let's really start trying to get this out here. But then COVID happened. So,
Oh, how did COVID affect business?
It was a good thing and a bad thing. It was bad because we were like planning to do a lot of farmers markets and everything shut down. So we were like, goodness gracious, we have to figure out a way to flip it. So we won our first grant, the $20,000 seed money, 2020, right before COVID happened. So we're planning on like going to market, doing farmers markets, but when COVID happened, we were just sitting on the money. So we decided to use that time to implement our e-commerce strategy. So we decided to implement a subscription-based plan where people could buy juice every week. They'll get a discount. And then we also put in place our commissary kitchen. We actually got a lease for a commissary kitchen that was shared. And it allowed us to take time to put our ducks in a row. And that year, we solidified a subscriber in Belcamp. He has an MMA gym. So we would give him juice every week. And he would give the juice to his family and his kids. And he still subscribed today. So we're very happy about that. So COVID helped us out more than it hurt us. So we're happy to say that.
That's good. Or now, as far as the bottling and everything, are you still doing it yourself, or how does that look today?
Well, we are actually still doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a process we've been perfecting for years now, and we can make about 700 to 1,000 bottles per week.
Wow.
And it's just us two. So we can only imagine when we start hiring people.
Yeah. And we finally got a bigger juicer. Yeah. So the juicer that we have now, it is only going to take one person. You don't have to cut anything. You just throw it in, and it makes like how many bottles?
It can make up to 1,000 bottles per day.
Right. So about to ramp it up.
And all this is still being done in that same commissary kitchen you mentioned earlier?
No, actually, since then, we've been probably through about 2 or 3 different kitchens, but now we just secured our first brick and mortar cafe, and it's being renovated as we speak. It's going to be on 1821 North Charles Street. And we have like the painters there, the plumbers there. They're really hooking it up. They're doing this facade improvements, and we're looking to have our grand opening no later than the beginning of March.
That's awesome. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
So from there, you're going to be able to do everything, right? Is that
everything?
Okay?
Yep. It's manufacturing. We're going to be doing sales, DoorDash, Grubhub. We're also going to open it up to the community where we're going to have like on certain days have a yoga session or have the students from Micah. They can showcase their artwork. So it's going to be a very flexible industrial space.
That's nice. How big is that space?
How big would you say? About 2,000 some square feet?
Probably a little under 2,000.
Okay.
It's big enough. I mean, it seats probably about
maybe 1,800.
Yeah, maybe that's probably about the square footage. Yeah, because it has about like 10 tables.
Yeah, it's 10 tables in there. It's a cafe. It's an area where you can sit down, use the Wi-Fi. We have a bar there.
Nice.
And in the back, we have the kitchen, and we also have the basement and stuff like that.
Oh, that's good. You have a basement too. Okay, so you can utilize that. Okay.
Yeah, for storage. Yeah.
For what you do, the good thing though is you basically just need more plumbing than anything, because you don't need a hood or you don't need a kitchen or anything like that, right?
Exactly. So all we really needed was like refrigeration. Putting in a new sink right now. Walls being painted, floors being buffed. It really didn't need a lot of work. So it was kind of it was almost what is it? What's the term? Turnkey. It was almost turnkey.
Yeah. That's great. I like the idea too that you mentioned as far as involving the community and artwork from Micah students and yoga or whatever sessions like that. It's nice, those activities, to bring people in.
For sure. Yeah, we're all about community. We definitely want to give back to the community as well. Baltimore is home to a lot of food deserts, which is basically an area where neighborhood is more than a quarter mile away from a food center or market. So people usually rely on like a 7-Eleven or like a convenience store for like nutrition, and that's a problem. You know, as children growing up, you're more prone to developing diabetes, things like that, heart issues, and I've dealt with those things. So, you know, I don't want the community dealing with that. So we wanted to strategically place our juice in an area that was similar to that so that we can give people a healthy and convenient option. So that's the big thing for us.
Right now, if people wanted to buy the juice and taste it, is there option only the website, or are you in any locations or stores?
Well, once our cafe opens up, that will be an option. We're going to be at farmers markets.
Okay.
Fells Point Farmers Market, Catonsville Farmers Market, Crofton, under the bridge, under the JFX bridge, and we'll have a schedule on our website.
Sure.
And you can also order online through our website as well.
So right now, local farmers markets where they can track on your website or sort of social and also online, the e-commerce, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. I assume too, having people in that recurring, whether weekly or monthly, would be the best ideal because you have that monthly stream coming in, right?
Yeah. One of my friends, he calls it Netflix money. So, so the money's always hitting the account. So it's good to have in the wintertime when things get slow. So
yeah, that's true. And any big hiccups you can think of all these years that sort of affected you, and how'd you maneuver around it?
The biggest hiccup probably was COVID, just because we weren't able to get out there, get that foot traction, and have people get to know us personally. Because when it comes to healthy products, people want to ask questions, and they want you to really be involved, and they want to ask questions like, what's cold press, and I'm looking for something with vitamin K, or it's super specific for some people.
Okay.
So doing subscriptions was nice because the guy with the gym, he was able to like introduce it to his family and his friends. But as far as people who didn't know us or didn't know about the product at all, it was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to subscribe right away, you know,
Sure.
whereas farmers markets now, it put us in a position where people learn to trust us and trust our product, and they got to taste it and sample it. So now they're more interested in maybe subscribing on a monthly basis as well because they're more familiar with us. So having that time period of not being in farmers markets, we had to do a lot more like education on Instagram, even posting different just stuff with health benefits or what's the benefits of juicing and things like that, since we weren't able to actively talk to people about it.
How many SKUs do you have now?
We have about 7 SKUs.
Okay. Okay.
And that's going to be growing. We're going to start adding other things to our product line. So I ain't going to say too much, but we got some more things in the works.
With the cafe opening up in March, are you thinking of keeping it the same? Or I'm thinking also, for example, if you go to a smoothie shop, right? You come and then you have your whole menu there, and there's a plethora of options, or you could put this in or that in, or what's the plan for that?
Well, we're going to have the juice already pre-bottled.
Okay.
Like if you go into a juice bar, you have some juices already pre-bottled on the side.
Yes.
And usually people have other options you can purchase. So our other options are going to be tea and coffee.
Sure.
And we're thinking about doing like a coffee alternative as well. And then later down the line, we're going to introduce like soup and salad so that people can have some more healthy options.
Yeah, we didn't want to do the normal juice smoothie acai bowl just because there's so many people doing that, and we personally like another company's acai bowl, so we were like, we'll keep that for them.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, there's a lack of a coffee company where we are. They had a location and they shut down. So a lot of people were asking us if we were going to have coffee. So we were like, okay, why not? People come in the morning, and that's what a couple people may want. And then, of course, teas you can't go wrong with. So we were like, we'll stick to beverages, just simply having liquids and add the smoothies and salads later down the line, of course.
That's a great idea. You were mentioning earlier as far as the different flea markets. So I'm assuming your schedule, I don't know how that looks like for each of you, but the weekends are pretty busy. You going from one place and another, right?
Yep. So we're usually at farmers markets. We split up, and she would do one farmers market, I would do the other one, and then we pull in the money we've got, and then we also, if we have like 3 farmers markets or 4 markets in a day, we would hire someone, subcontract out a market to someone else, and they do that market for us. And it's like it's a ever evolving organism. We also always have to tend to it. We also have to know who has what inventory. We use a software that keeps track of every bottle. So we're just trying to make sure we know everything is, and the accounting and the finances and the products. So it can get a little hectic if you don't stay on top of it. So
I'm sure. And then during the weekday, is that when you're bottling and manufacturing everything, producing it?
Yep. The weekdays are typically the juicing days, and then we also have farmers markets on the weekdays as well. So we sell juice at the National Security Agency, and we do that 3 days out the week. So we're like pretty busy, and it's just us two. So when we start hiring people, you're gonna see us in more places. Right now, we're in conversation with Roots Market, and so hopefully you'll be able to buy juice from us from Roots. You'll see us there, and we're in conversation with Whole Foods as well. So,
oh, that's amazing. Okay, and both of you are doing this full time now?
Yeah, full time for the last 3 years.
So 3 years, you left the 3 years ago, you left the W-2.
Yeah.
Finito.
How was that, by the way? Because, maybe there's an entrepreneur listening to this or watching this, and they're on the fence and they're scared. And they have every right to be, as far as jumping that fence and leaving that stability of the paycheck. 3 years ago, how was that experience for both of you?
So when we finally decided to leave our jobs, we were actually both at good jobs. He was at an insurance company, and I was actually doing executive assistant work. So it was kind of like a lot of people like, oh my gosh, you guys, have good office jobs. Like, why would you want to quit your job and all that kind of thing? But it was also like, do you want to get so invested in that income that you forget about your dreams, where you're just so comfortable at work that you're like, well, I don't really feel like going home after 8 hours of working to work again. But for me, I will say being an executive assistant really put me in a position to run my own company. It was like I learned a lot. I learned how to hire. I learned how to do SOPs and all the things that you need to do. So I would say, even if you want to hold on to a job for a while, definitely find something that will assist you for what it is you want to do, so that at least you can be learning while working. And then eventually, you just got to take that risk of faith. And yeah, you won't always have as much money, but it'll come later and it'll be worth it later. So,
And now, was it worth it?
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
Like what Nichelle said, like it's good to have transferable skills for your business. A lot of people are afraid to make that leap, but I was more afraid of being stuck at a job that I did not love and being just stuck on that hamster wheel where, yeah, it might be room for growth in someone else's company, but it's not going to build your legacy. It's not going to help wealth generation for you and your family. So we had to think about the end game, and the end game was being owners, owning the process, so that you can actually grow something and be proud of something. My parents didn't own a business. No one in my family, in my immediate family, had a business that was tangible that they could actually pass down. So we're the first ones in our family that's doing that. So we're kind of trailblazing, and it feels good. It's scary, but you got to do it scared. You have to, or it's not going to get done.
Yeah, do it scared, do it broke. Have faith, stay disciplined.
Now that you mentioned scary, it's almost constantly with business, you just get barrage. There's a problem here and there. And especially when you're going to be growing and you start going to add more team members on, there's going to be another set of problems then. But right now, when you're dealing with issues, you have setbacks. The good thing is you have each other, but you have those times where you just feel down and out and you're like, man, did I make the right choice here? How do you get yourself out of those?
How do I get myself out of those?
Because I'm sure you have them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone does.
You just gotta keep pushing. It's more so just having discipline.
Yeah.
It's not so. It's more so being motivated, because those days you lack motivation. You just have to know the end goal. You got to keep that in mind. It's times when we've invested a lot into a farmer's market and we're not getting a return of investment, and be like, oh my gosh, like how are we going to pay, this bill or that bill? And you just have to be creative.
Yeah.
So I'll just stop there.
I mean, you definitely have to become a solution-based person. You definitely don't want to spend too much time dwelling on a problem. You become very aware of, okay, this is the problem, but how can I fix it? Because if you spend too much time on the problem, you're not thinking about the solution. So even recently with getting our new location done, our contractor called and she's like, it's mold on one wall. And she was like, we got to take care of the mold, but it's going to eat into decorative costs. So it was just like, oh my gosh. And then her guys ended up leaving one of our freezers unplugged. So it's like things are always happening. And you just kind of be like, okay, this is what we have to do to get rid of this mold. Go ahead, tell them cut it out. We'll just have to eat into decorative costs and do some stuff later. And, product we lost that was in the freezer, it's like, it's just, you take losses in businesses. You just have to mentally prepare for it, because financially you can't always prepare for it, but mentally you can.
It's so true. And that's great advice, Nichelle, because, it just reminds me, I'm talking to people and they're having an issue and they sort of just dwell on it instead of, like you mentioned, find solutions. How can you handle it? 9 times out of 10, yes, it would require for you to throw more money at it. Unfortunately, you're going to have to put some more capital, whether you have it, maybe it's credit or friends and family. I don't know, but a lot of times you can fix problems with additional funds.
Yes.
Maybe you weren't planning for that, like you just said, that mold. You're like, oh my gosh, what now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have credit. I will say when you start a business, credit lines they're like a lifeline. You know, when you don't have it, make sure you got a credit line to help you stay afloat if you need it.
That's very true. And then that sometimes it's not that easy though, especially if it's a business, as a startup. Were you doing it mostly on personal, or did you eventually do it on the business?
We did both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely got more grants than anything. We did a lot of pitch competitions. We won a good amount of pitch competitions. We probably so far maybe got about 100,000 in grants between big and small ones.
Uh-huh.
So we were blessed to be really good at that and speaking in front of people. And it's also about people liking you. You don't necessarily always have to be the smartest or the most business savvy, but if you can make people love what you do as much as you do it, they're a little more willing to give you leeway. Like, okay, well, I can help with this, so I can teach you this if you don't know it. So being personable and really going out and getting those grants really helped us. So we didn't take out any loans or anything like that so far.
That's great. So the grant definitely did help.
Yeah.
With both of you being the co-owners and both of you involved full time, how do you divide and conquer? Does one of you sort of focus and specialize on one specific thing? I don't know, like marketing or accounting, or how do you do it right now?
Yeah. So she's like the social media guru. She does all the if I try to touch the Instagram, she will like delete anything I put on there. I'm
It
like, all
has to
right.
be aesthetically pleasing.
I'm like, all right, cool. She that's her realm, you know. I'm more so like I'm a graphic design guy. Like I can create logos. I do websites. I play a lot around in like Adobe Illustrator, Canva, and Photoshop, and then I'll like go to her and she like approves it or denies it, and I'm like, all right. So we have a system there. I'm also the guy that does like the paperwork, and then like she like signs off on it. So
Yeah.
that's like our relationship with it. But that goes where we both do the juicing. We both go to, we both source our ingredients and our materials together, and we both sell. We both go to farmers markets. We both sell our juices as well. So we're both hands on. I'm just more of a paperwork guy.
Yeah, I definitely do more of like the logistics and the negotiation type thing.
Yeah.
So like I'll find our location and then like negotiate our lease, or, if they call us and it's a problem with our building, I'll be the one that they talk to and stuff like that, just so he has time to do the big paperwork stuff. Like he'll find the grants and then I might pitch at the competition since he's really good at writing and stuff and I'm good at talking.
Okay, so you're the one pitching it, Nichelle, and he's the one writing it.
Yeah, he recently did his first pitch though. So
Okay, how did that
yeah,
go?
he did good, really good.
It went well. Marissa is the one who got me in touch with you.
Yes.
She was at the pitch competition, and I won the grand prize.
Oh, so it was that one you first pitched at? Look at that, you won.
Surprisingly, man, I'm never the pitcher. But she was like, you know what? She'll let me get my glory. So I took home the big prize, and I was excited. I was happy about that. So
I'm sure she gave you some pointers, Todd, and some help
of course,
there. Yeah,
of course.
You learn from the best, right?
Yeah, I had my little earpiece in. I'm like,
oh, okay, you did one of
those. But yeah, it was cool.
How is it? Because I know you said you're engaged, so congratulations. How is it working together as a couple and also being partners, business partners as well?
It creates a strong foundation.
Yeah.
Because we're around each other all day, every day. So I trust her judgment. She trusts my judgment. There are those days, you have those days where it's like
those.
Yeah, those days. But when you overcome them, it brings you together like way stronger. So
Okay.
I mean, there are times where it's like we really we're just employees. I mean, we're just coworkers. Like you're just my coworker today. That's it. And then you get over it, and then you make some money together. You're like, oh, I'm happy to have you around.
Yeah, you definitely got to put your emotions to the side sometimes because you could be upset with each other about something that happened at home, but it's like, all right, we got to go in front of this investor or in front of this developer and, still be composed and do what we got to do. So,
I do want to say this, though. A lot of investors or people who want to invest in you, they are afraid to invest in people who are like engaged or like even if they're like together in a spousal situation, they're like, what happens to the business if you guys happen to separate? So people are afraid of those type of businesses, but if you're an adult and you can be cordial, you just keep business. So we always respect those boundaries. Always.
In those situations when an investor may bring that up, how do you respond to that?
We always tell them, we keep the business professional. There's a cutoff time where we don't talk about business at all. So we respect that separation. So when someone says they ask about that, it could go either way. They could be really happy for us, or they could get a little paranoid. But so far, everyone has been supportive of this.
Oh, that's great.
They definitely just want to know, like, do you plan on continuing a business? Like, if you guys were to break up, are you still going to do the juice bar? And we're always like, yeah, we're mature. Like, you don't plan to divorce or whatever the case may be. But we always talked about it. It's like, yeah, we definitely could still run a business, make it happen. So.
Do you have investors? You're mentioning investors now?
So we are pitching this week to do a possible investment. We at first were kind of a little iffy on if we wanted to do it because some of our mentors were like, you guys are doing really good, just you two. You don't really want to take any money where you got to pay it back or give anybody a piece of your company. And then another one of our mentors, she just was like,
not pitch.
Don't limit yourself because you still could find somebody that's willing to do a deal that works for you. She was like, you might find somebody who just wants to be an angel investor and doesn't want a percentage of your company. Or you may find somebody who is just like, I just want to give you a credit line, on my behalf or whatever, and you just pay them back over time. So we're hoping that we can maybe get an investment for at least like $150,000 to pay for new employees.
Okay. And this, your preference is to get a line from this investor, or what ideally for you personally, what would you like?
Ideally, we don't want to have to give any equity up.
Sure.
Because we're doing so well on our own. Mm-hmm. And then once you give equity up, then the stakeholders might want to change the way we run our business. They might want to go the co-packer route, which is going to influence the integrity of our product. We don't know how they're doing it. I've heard situations where co-packers do absolutely the things they're not supposed to do with the product, and it could just be a mess. So when it comes to like sharing equity or working with an investor, us as the business owners, we have power in the situation. We can just say no, so, sure. That's something that we are looking forward to negotiating. And hopefully we can find something that works for all of us.
Yeah, even if they just do like a loan or credit line versus a percentage of the company or equity or anything like that. More so just us paying it back over time. Like, I'm just so interested in your company and I like you guys so much that here, I'll give you a loan with this amount of interest versus going to a bank, basically. That would probably be the most favorable, but we'll see. We'll see.
And you mentioned this capital will be used to hire more people, hire the team.
Yes.
Yeah, part of it will be payroll, and then the other part would be securing a refrigerated van type of vehicle, mm-hmm. so that when we do increase those wholesale accounts, we can do our own distribution instead of hiring a distributor. That would cost more money. We could just drive the product to Mom's or Whole Foods or, God forbid, not God forbid, but We could drive
God
it.
willing.
God willing. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We could drive it to Wegmans, so that's the plan. Get enough to secure another vehicle and for payroll.
For payroll, the next couple people you plan to hire, what would be the role for?
We want to have 2 people at the kitchen. So somebody is just like manning the bigger juicer, because you really only need 1 person for that since there's no cutting and stuff like that. So 1 person will do that and bottle, and then another person who will prepare any orders that need to go out for like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and make sure everybody at the front is good if they're buying coffee or tea.
I see.
And then the other 2 would be for vending events.
Ah, okay. What would you say drives and motivates you?
For me, well, I could go back to how I started my journey to wellness. I was desperate. So it was me wanting to feel better. And that motivated me in the beginning. And then now it's transitioned into more of inspiration now. I'm inspired by how our customers receive our product. People come to us and say, I hate how I feel when I don't have your juice. That makes me feel amazing. I'm like, wow, we're really changing lives. My mother's a diabetic and she loves our juice. The fructose in our juice does not spike her sugar. It actually helps her diabetes. So we're actually happy and just know that we're changing lives and it's a healthy product. You can't like over drink our product. It's always going to do your body good. So we're happy about that.
What about for you, Nichelle?
For me, being a woman is definitely financial freedom, so that when we are ready to have kids and stuff like that, I'll feel comfortable in knowing my business is running itself so that I can be with my kids. I don't got to hire a nanny and I don't got to worry about somebody else, tending to my babies. I get to really be there and be involved because I set up a system. So I'm not like, oh, I got to go back to work in 6 months. And now somebody has to take care of my infant, So
Yes.
I look at that kind of stuff.
That's great. You can maybe even bring them along, show them the ropes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Todd, you mentioned just now as far as you can never over drink or juice the product. Do you recommend people to use it as a meal replacement if they want to lose weight? Or I know you're not a doctor and you're not here giving medical advice, but what do you think?
I think that you can definitely drink instead of eating.
Yeah.
I've done it myself, and the juice, it's so full of electrolytes and nutrients and digestive enzymes that you can drink a juice and feel full because you're actually getting what your body needs. And when you eat, your body actually has to work harder to break the food down. So you're using more energy, which makes you more tired. So when you're drinking our juice, it gives you energy. It helps cleanse the digestive tract. I definitely recommend you can drink your way to health, wellness.
If someone were to come to both of you, to each of you, and say, "Hey, I want to start my own company," juicing related, not juicing related, doesn't matter. What you've gone through, what's some suggestion or advice you would tell that individual?
The first hallmarks, business, you have to test your idea or product. You would need to set up an LLC. You would need to register with the state of Maryland, just to have a business email, website, and most importantly, you have to become disciplined because no one's gonna pat you on the back for doing something good, or no one's gonna scold you. It's like you're the one that's responsible for its success and its failures. So you have to really be hard on yourself. You gotta wake yourself up in the morning, and you have to really want it. If you don't want it, no one's gonna want it for you. So
yeah, I agree. And I would also add, like, I'm a little more, like, I'm very logical and I'm also very blunt. So I have friends that are like, oh, I want to start a business. And I'm like, okay, well, a business is not just about your idea. You can have a great idea, but if you don't know how to handle logistics and finances and all of those things that make a business actually scalable in a real business and not just like a side hustle, it will crumble. So it's like you have to be ready to build the foundation, create standard operation procedures, have your finances in order. If you can't do accounting work, you need to have QuickBooks or hire somebody. You know, you need to figure out how you're going to fund it because you want to make money. You don't want to just be losing money and coming out your own pocket. So now you need to think about how are you going to fund this business because the idea is not just enough. And we've really learned that going to a lot of the cohort programs that we were in and talking to different mentors where they start asking you questions like, okay, well, profit margin, loss, and you know, you start being like, oh, okay, like this is really about real business. This isn't just, oh, I want to sell something and make money. Like, no, you have to really dig deep into how you make your product, the value of it, if other people are going to value it, and then how much money does it take? How much time does it take? So you just have to start being really aware of all of the things that if you went on Shark Tank, they're going to want to know.
I agree.
Are there any specific habits or traits that you each feel that you have that have helped you for the business or even just on your personal life?
Yeah, I read more, way more. That's something I've learned to do in business. I'm always reading, whether it's checking the mail, checking the bills, self-help books, finding ways to become more disciplined, personal growth books, you know, becoming a better speaker. That's something I'm trying to work on now, just to be able to articulate myself in the business arenas. And that's a good one. What about you?
I'm more hands-on. I don't like to necessarily read a lot. So for me, I learned to get help. Don't be afraid to ask for help and definitely get mentors for anything that you can think about. Have a mentor because what you don't know, they know, or they know somebody else who know it. You know, networking and making connections is very, very important in business. So like talking to people, asking them questions, getting mentors is one thing that I've learned and it has really, really helped us. Just having people who could walk us through some things.
And I thought of something too. Grants for people starting businesses. Always utilize the grants. Check your local just websites for your city or your state. It's a lot of money out here for startups. You just have to look for them and apply for them. A lot of people don't even utilize them, and so they will never get the money. We utilize every resource we can, and we've been blessed to receive them. We even share grants with our friends and our family. So it's much. The state will give you grants. You'll have local organizations that will give you grants. And it will help you get a leg up in the game, so you don't have to bootstrap out of your own money. You know, that's what we did in the beginning. I worked at an insurance company. I would use my own money from my own bank account and bootstrap the business, and that would hurt. So we did it the less painful route, and it just takes one application. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, all great advice. Thank you. What would you say is your biggest challenge with your roles today at Treehouse Juicery for each of you?
I think for both of us, trying to do too much. It's at that point where it's really time to get a team. It's like you spend so much time like, oh, I do this best and I do this best, but you got to really get over that. And it's like trusting somebody to do the job as good as you. And sometimes they might even do it better than you if you give them a chance. You know, building a good team is really, really important. And it's taken us so long to find a really good, solid team because I feel like we were so hands-on and didn't want to let go. But now it's like, all right, we got to let go if we want to grow. So,
yeah. And you have to learn how to, any business, you got to learn how to trust other people with your baby, as scary as that sounds. Because right now, we're the accountant, we're like basically our own legal team. we're the juicers, we're the graphic designers, we're the managers, we're the sales. We do everything, just us. So just giving that those responsibilities to someone else will help us to work on the business and not just in the business.
What do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of when you started the business?
Networking. Networking has truly, truly, truly pushed us to the level we're at in just like less than a year. Like we just started seeing a really good profit starting like April. We started making like 20,000 a month, and we would not have been able to do that without meeting people who was like, oh, hey, I know about this farmers market. I can get you in there. So we didn't have to take the route of like, oh, are we going to get it? Are they, you know, going to pick somebody else? Like when you know people, they really do open doors for you versus you hoping that you get in. Knowing somebody is always great. Like wholesale account we have will be for H&S Bakery soon. They're opening a store. They've been around for years. And one of the cohorts we met, Mariana Pappas, so her family owns a Pappas restaurant, and she was able to get us in H&S to be in their store wholesale. So it's like knowing people will really push you to that next level. So you can't be afraid to talk to people and network.
And I'd also like to add, when you're in business, it's always good to have multiple streams of income, because if one fails, then you're done for. But we started a junk removal company back in 2019, and that helped us to bootstrap the juice bar as well. So while I'm gonna tell you a little quick story. So we were actually doing junk removal for the owner of a nonprofit in Baltimore City, and he took us to one of the locations where he needed storage removed. That place was actually North Ave Market. And once we were there, we met the manager of North Ave Market, and we said, wow, you guys have a nice space. They had storage, they had a kitchen, they had all types of different areas we could utilize. And we wound up meeting them, and they let us use their kitchen. So from doing junk removal, we met someone who allowed us to juice at their kitchen. And it was just like the synergy was great. And the opportunity, it just was effortless. So just like you said, networking was a great opportunity for us to expand both the businesses. So now we removed their trash in their restaurant, and we also utilized their kitchen for our juicing. So it was like a great deal.
Yeah, we probably would have been where we are now a couple years ago if we were asking for help and getting mentors and talking to people. We wouldn't have been trying to figure things out on our own, coming from families that never owned a business, just trying to figure it out. We probably would have been a lot further ahead.
That's great advice. Do you still have that junk removal company or no?
We do.
Oh,
we do. So like with any restaurant, when you sign a lease and you got to get the health inspection and stuff, to get your caterer's license, you need to have like either a dumpster on site or you need someone removing the trash from your site. We have a junk removal company, so we're paying ourselves to remove our own trash. You know, so that's like the beautiful thing of having multiple businesses. You can, subcontract work out to your other business. So
yeah, you're mentioning the importance of networking just now and all the different cohorts and groups. Is there any specific groups that you've been involved with that were really a big game changer for you and the business?
Oh yeah, multiple. I'll name a few. We're in a cohort with the National Minority Supplier Development Council, and they had a cohort which is the EYE, Emerging Young Entrepreneurs. We have had corporate mentorship from MetLife, where we talk to the vice president of global procurement like once a month, and he just looks over our financials and see how we're doing, how we can increase our revenue while reducing expenses. So that's great mentorship to have. We're working with CCBC. They're the ones that gave us our initial seed funding to get us off the ground, to get startup costs. We're working with Jeff Cherry and the Conscious Venture Lab team. They've been a great help. They're helping us to get pitch ready for our Series A round. Who else are we working with? Great courses. They actually gave us a lot of mentorship as well, and networking and how to get your product ready for wholesale and big distribution and getting partners in that sense. And I know it's a couple people I'm forgetting, so when they see this on YouTube, y'all don't be mad at me.
I will say it is one with CCBC. We did an elite course. It's basically all the first place winners of previous years, and our mentor was Kwame Kude. He was actually on Shark Tank, and he has built and sold businesses. And I will say, working with him we immediately saw profit. Like soon as we were done working with him is when our money skyrocketed. It was like he really walks you through it. He's like super strict on you. It's not about what you like, it's about what makes sense. And it works though. It really works. So I will say working with him, you see that immediate growth, like immediate growth.
I agree. And also, Jay Salters, he works with the Greater Baltimore Urban League. He had a cohort called the Baltimore Restaurant Accelerator Program, and that program it blew us out the water. They gave us funding. They also gave us another layer of mentorship that just helped us tremendously. So I can't thank them enough.
Yeah. Nichelle, you just mentioned Kwame just gave you some advice there. He showed you some things. Immediately, you guys went into green and made profit. Can you remember what was it, or what were the changes you implemented into business that immediately just flipped it?
So he was very strict on what are you good at and how can it make money. So for instance, we were telling him like, oh, we're trying to do online sales, but we have our subscriptions, but we don't get a lot of online sales like that. So he's the one that really pushed us to scale doing farmers markets. He's like, well, if you're doing farmers markets, because I think we probably were only doing like 1 or 2 at the time. And he was like, you're making money from farmers markets. This is what you need to scale first. Because if you scale that first, it'll help you implement other things and you'll have the money and the means to try new things and new products down the line. So we were like, okay, like scale vending. And he would always tell us like, you guys got to go your separate ways. You need to go to an event. She has to go to an event and you got to make it happen. So after that, we literally applied to probably like 10 more farmers markets. So we did farmers markets 7 days a week in some multiple markets per day, all last year, all the entire last year. We were just at our farmers markets from about 7 a.m. to 7 at night. We were up, both of us at farmers markets. And and this was with no location, no Uber Eats orders, no DoorDash orders. We immediately started making $20,000 a month from probably making, honestly, $5,000 or less a month. It was a crazy increase.
Just the two of us.
Yeah.
And Kwame helped us focus on scalability.
Yeah.
And we didn't think of scalability in that sense, but he kind of disciplined our minds to focus on scaling. And he told us how to scale, what to focus on. And it made sense. So it was easy.
Sure. So before that, you said you were doing 2, right? 2 farmers markets you were in? And then you went from 2 to, what'd you say, over 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like about 10 a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
And that's just with us too. So now that we're poised to hire people, we can probably quadruple that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have like 3 or 4 a day. Yeah.
You mentioned a comment earlier, and I believe you were referring to farmers market as far as your ROI, your return on investment, sometimes was not there. When that would happen, when you go to a farmer's market and let's say maybe it was not profitable, what do you do then? Do you go back there another day or time, or do you regroup and go somewhere else? Or
well, when you do farmers markets, typically you pay for the entire season. So certain days aren't as good as others. It could be rainy on one Saturday, and we probably would only make $300. And honestly, that would really crush our spirit. Like, oh man, we only made $300. Come on now. But then we have to humble ourselves. Say, you know what? $300 in one day is not bad.
In 4 hours, not 24, not even a whole day, in a couple hours.
Right. So. We're not sitting at the desk. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So we be happy we humble ourselves. And then next week we go back and then we make $1,200 in 4 hours. So it's like you just have to stay the course and be grateful for the little wins. Because if you get discouraged from setbacks like that, you're going to quit. And then you'll never make more money. So we always were just grateful for every little cent that we made.
And knowing that it's not just for the profit for that day, but also the visibility. So like when we noticed days were slow, we'd be like, okay, so what can we do differently next time? One, you got to be super interactive. You got to make people want to buy what you're selling. And then we also would do sampling. And then as soon as people get to sample the juice, it's like, oh, I want that, because they're used to juice being healthy but not delicious.
Yeah.
So when you taste the product and you're like, oh wow, this actually tastes good and it's healthy. We had so many children customers that were regulars. Like they would walk past and be like, Mom, I gotta get my juice. So that, like, just the other kids seeing a kid with juice, they're like, Mom, I want juice too. So you're like, okay, this is what we're doing it for. So that even if they didn't buy it this week, they'll know that we're there next weekend, or they'll see us online or on DoorDash and be more tempted to buy it than if they didn't see us at all, you know?
I love that. As a way to replace the Kool-Aid or something, I have little kids myself, and I just remembering this morning, I'm packing in for my youngest one, a little juice box of apple juice. But I will never, I don't drink that. I mean, now I personally just drink water, but I look at the nutritional value in the back that I'm like, it's sugar. It's mostly all sugar. And it's like, okay. But if you're giving other people alternatives, especially for small children, and they love it and it tastes good and it's healthy, oh gosh, you're gonna fantastic. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
It's the whole family can enjoy it. You know, we want to make sure you enjoy getting healthy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's our big, that's our niche.
Coming to an end here soon, what does the future look like for you? What is the next 5 years?
Well, in my opinion, she can agree. She may not, but I'm hoping we can have our juices in a lot of food, health food stores. That includes Wegmans, Mom's, Whole Foods, Harris Teeter. We're have our juices in hospitals as well. We have a couple. We have a contract with University of Maryland, where we bring juices to them for their 5K mile jogs every month. We want our juices in colleges as well, so that people on campuses can get healthy, and eventually have a few more brick and mortars. That would be in my mind the goal, and then we could step away from the business and enjoy family time and checking on the businesses and see how they're doing. So just create more freedom in our life.
Same for you, Nichelle?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely would want us to get a manufacturing space, because I do feel like with all the wholesale orders, we're going to need somewhere that's strictly manufacturing to go along with having a brick and mortar, and everything else. Yeah, definitely being in those stores and getting some refrigerated vans even to be able to do more deliveries and things like that. But yeah, definitely.
I understand right now it's only both of you, and both of you are wearing all the hats. But when you're not busy, what do you like to do in your free time for fun?
I was going to say sleep, but no.
He definitely likes to sleep.
A more realistic one. I like music. I love listening to music, playing the piano. She also likes to travel.
Yeah.
We love to travel. She does modeling as well. So she's actually a signed model. She won't tell people that, but she is actually a signed model. And so we would go to New York. She'd have a couple photo shoots, and just spending time with family. That's like the big thing for us, is family.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
If people want to learn more about you and Treehouse Juicery, where can they go and find out more information? Maybe they want to order some things online.
Yeah, they can check our website out, which is www.treehousejuiceryonline.com. They can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And where else can you check us out?
Our Instagram is Treehouse Juicery Online as well. You can always meet us down at some farmers markets, Fells Point, Under the Bridge, Catonsville, Crofton, Pikesville, any of those places. We're at a lot of the festivals that happen around town as well. So if there's big festivals going on, we'll probably be there vending.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely our website. And of course, come March, at the latest April, we'll be at our brick and mortar, 1821 North Charles Street. And you can swing past the Treehouse and we'll have the juice.
I love that. Thank you for dropping that address. I was going to ask you that next, but I'm glad you mentioned it. Todd, Nichelle, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, man. Thanks for your time. Glad you had us today. So peace. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Take care.